Hey everyone, Vicky Magic here again with Wake Up to What Matters podcast. And today I have the amazing Min Swan. Welcome, Min.
Well, thank you, Vicky. Thanks for asking me to be part of it.
Absolute pleasure. So, Min, I'd like to start by inviting you to share with our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do and those different hats that you wear at different times of the day and night.
Okay, well, that could create enough overwhelm and stress just doing that bit. But I'm a proud Sunshine Coast local, moved here when I was 16 years old, did move away for approximately 10 years in my 20s to mid 30s, and then came back to start a family and also to start my business, White House Celebrations, which is a prestige event management firm based here on the Sunshine Coast, predominantly running local events, but we also do operate in Brisbane and Toowoomba and some of regional Queensland, wherever our clients take us really. So event management has been my thing for the past 10 years. And in amongst that, obviously, like I said, came back to start a family, but actually was told I couldn't start a family. And so then at the age of 37 though, I ended up with a surprise miracle baby, and now I'm the mother of two, which is amazing, and obviously adds to the life as well. So I'm the mother of a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and also a single mother. So with an amazing support network, I must say. So yeah, so I have White House Celebrations. There's a team of 4 of us. We do everything from events. Obviously 2020 has been a little unusual for us in that space, but we also support a number of chambers and networks on the Sunshine Coast as well, doing all of their back end, which has obviously got us through COVID as well. So other than that, I'm also on the Sunshine Coast Business Women's Network Executive Committee, and I run the events side of the portfolio for that, and also contribute to the Kawana Chamber Executive and also the Maroochydore Chamber Executive in an advisory capacity. And just recently I've started actually hosting the Lightning Lounge for the Sunshine Coast Lightning, which is a job, but it's actually a pleasure. It's actually so much fun. So yeah, so that's some of the hats that I wear. I'm sure I'll think of more as we go, but that's the basic summary.
Wow. Well, I think that I may have come to the right person as far as possibility for overwhelm. So share with us a little bit, and I don't mean that you're in constant overwhelm, but from all of the things that you just said that you do, I'm sure there are times when that is the case. But I'd love to hear a little bit more with, obviously this year has been a very different year. And so how does somebody whose business is event management then sort of pivot the business to cope with a time when you can't actually do live events? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and how you did it and got through.
And I think this has come at a perfect time because I have reflected on that. So I've had a pretty big 3 years. The last 3 years have been a juggle and a struggle and amazing all in one. So I'm the type of person who tends to find the positive side in everything. But if I ripped away all the positive, it has been quite a challenge. And so when I hit COVID this year, I almost think I was trained for it, because it wasn't, of course it was a shock and nobody was prepared for that. And my whole role and why for living is to connect people, and everything with COVID is about not connecting people face to face. So obviously, online is amazing, but in March of this year, online was not really a thing. So when COVID hit, and literally, like, I was having lunch on the Friday afternoon with one of my clients, and she said, do you think we're going to have to postpone our event that's in 3 weeks? And I was like, oh, we're watching the space, but I think we'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. And then Friday afternoon, I started getting a few more calls. And I was like, okay, like, and so then the weekend happened. And then and this is before restaurants or anything were closed. This was like, we were literally one of the first industries to go. And then on the Monday, literally my whole 10-year business disappeared. Like, I sat there at 5 o'clock on Monday afternoon, our whole event board, which this was the biggest year we'd ever had in the 10 years of White House, it was gone, like literally gone. And like I said before, we support two chambers and a network, and I didn't know where they were at either. So I went to bed that night with that movie kind of, you know, when you have a dream and you think, is this real or not real? So I went to bed that night and went, wow, okay, surreal feeling. Not sure how I feel about this, to be honest. I think it was shock. Yeah. And I woke up really early on Tuesday morning, and I had one of those, did that really happen moments? And then I realized, oh my gosh, like the nightmare was actually true, you know? And I just like took some deep breaths, like, you know, like really deep breaths. And I went, okay, you have gotten through all sorts of stuff. Everyone in the world gets through all sorts of stuff. You're not alone. Like, you're not the only person that's going to be impacted by this. Just maintain, like, this is just roll with the punches, kind of is like a bit of a term for me at the moment, whether or not that's a good term or not, but just roll with this, you know? Yeah. Anyway, so I just laid there, and then next thing I just felt that online, I just had to get online, and I had to do it that day, which, you know me for a number of years, and you know what a planner I am and how strategic I am. And, you know, I've had to learn from people like yourself that like kind of are like, get out there, you know, you don't have to have it all perfect, get out there. And so for me to go, I'm going to do this today, was just foreign, but it was like the right thing to do. And so I walked into the team and I said, look, I don't know. We're all shell shocked. I don't know what we're going to do, but you know what we are going to do? We're going to launch E-Vents today. And then we are going to do it, and we are going to survive, and we're going to fight with everything we've got. And so I guess that's it. I guess I just rallied you know, years of resilience and all the personal development and all the rest of it. And I put a post out on Facebook, and I don't always put personal posts out, but I did. And the level of support and encouragement, and the random people that phoned me from this amazing Sunshine Coast community that week, I was like, you know what, I can do this. And so I just did, like, I just went for it, whatever that meant.
Yeah. And so how has it been? So over the last 3-4 months, I mean, yeah, have you been able to transform to this events, and how is that? Like, it's so exciting, and congratulations. Like, it's really amazing that you were able to pivot and say where to from here and make something happen. So well done too.
So I guess, you know, all hats off to the Sunshine Coast community. So obviously the first thing I did was I wanted to save my team. So there's 4 of us, 2 of which actually are from overseas. So 2 are actually from Europe. And so I knew me not keeping their job meant either they had to go home, and we had to make that decision really fast. Neither of them wanted to, like, they were ready. They love Australia. They wanted their career here. And then, you know, Kiani, who's part of my team, I just wanted to save us. Like, we were just such a brilliant team. I built up this team that I just adored. And so my number one priority was probably doing it for them, which is a bit of a personality trait for me. If I think I've got somebody else on the line, then I will fight harder than probably even for myself, to be honest. Yeah. So I was like, right, we're going to fight. So I went to the chambers and I went to the network, and we all did financial viability of those 3 organizations. And all 3 of them were like, you know what, we're good. Like, obviously we're probably not going to have revenue for the next 6 months, but we are committed to White House, and we're committed to continuing to deliver to our members. And we are obviously the people that do that for them. So they're all volunteer committees. So they all had to go into their own businesses. So they really were relying on White House to kind of do what needed to be done for their members so that they could either save their businesses, or if they're accountants, they had JobKeeper and all sorts of stuff. So, so the chambers and the network were able to recommit. So from a financial perspective, that was a little bit of like breathing space. And then of course JobKeeper wasn't out yet, but I was like, right, events, like this is going to save us. And then I had a couple of people that rang, and one in particular that rang me in that first week before JobKeeper, before anything. And he said to me, and he's not an existing client, he's someone I've known as a sponsor of events, a charity events that we've run. And he said to me, Min, you've been in this community for 10 years. We've all watched you. None of us are going to let you like not get through this. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And he said, you know, we want to do an event. We still have to speak to our customers, our team, our whatever. Can you put a quote together for this? So like week one, I had a really good new client with a new quote. And I was just like, I can do this. You know, that was just that phone call. Sometimes you just need someone outside of yourself to kind of give you that little boost. So he did that, which was
your
amazing.
idea as well.
And kind of direct it as well. So, so then of course JobKeeper has come along, and you know, you can't underestimate what that has done for saving small business, especially small businesses that, you know, we would never have gone under this year. You know, we were financially like in a great shape in 2020, and COVID alone could have done, you know, could have totally changed that. So, you know, so JobKeeper has certainly supported a business that was sustainable, and, you know, kind of until that point. So we've actually done really well. And then it's been a big personal growth journey for me as well. And like almost a consolidation of the past 3 years to kind of close that door on that time, because if this hadn't have hit, like, would I have taken the time to have just closed off 3 years of circumstances that were kind of outside of my control, but that, you know, were personally impacting me? So yeah, so we're doing okay so far. We're doing okay.
Yeah, awesome. And so if you actually look at where you are now and having come through and things like that, and you were sort of wanting to give someone some advice who is out there thinking, oh, you know, I'm just so stressed out, I need to somehow pivot my business or pivot my life and you know, get myself back on track. You said that right now you're in a really good place. How did you mentally get yourself into that really good place? And if you were giving advice, what advice would you give?
Great question. So, you know, I'm a big believer in serendipity or divine guidance or whatever. So as much as I'm a straight down the line planner, mainstream type of individual, I do have a spiritual side to me that I probably don't share that often. But of course, you and I have known each other for a lot of years, so you know that about me. And of course, and I have a network of friends and like people I would call sisters, I guess, and brothers, you know, like males and females, that are kind of in my core group, that, and we all kind of believe, you know, similar, that you may not be in control of your circumstances, but you are certainly in control of your reaction. And so, you know, that's been a thing that I'm very lucky to have the best mother in the world. So, you know, I grew up, you know, in my teenage life, you know, she was finding herself and did a lot of personal development. So I kind of had a little bit of a head start with some of that. But I am also my own worst enemy. So I'm a perfectionist. I'm a procrastinator. I'm a go-getter. I'm ambitious. I'm a type A. You know, there's all this personality / whatever it is stuff that makes up Min Swan. And what I've really had to learn over the past 3 years is that if I look at myself at 44 and where I thought I would be at 44, like totally different. Could not have even imagined this life for myself ever in a billion years. And so I've had to let go of what I think is right, and I've had to let go of right versus wrong. Am I right to be where I'm at 44, or am I wrong to be? You know, if you start playing around,
just there?
or am I just there? Yeah, because if I'm wrong, well, who says? And if I'm right, who says? This is just what it is. So I think when you let go of, this is actually just who I am and this is where I'm at. And then I guess over the part, you know, like every March for
and
the
it's
past,
pretty damn good, by the way.
what's that?
Where you are, you know.
Yeah, it is, but in whose mind? Because in my mind, it's not always, you know, and I think that's the thing. I think we're our harshest judge of ourselves. So other people look at you and go, Superwoman, Wonder Woman, this, that, oh my God, you know, she's such an extrovert. She can just walk into a room and meet new people. Well, that's my biggest fear. I hate doing that. I just make myself do it, you know, like I just step over that. So I think people always judge other people kindly, most people judge other people kindly and themselves harshly. And I know I speak for myself, that's me, 100%. So I look at myself and think, where am I at 44? And so I think I looked at the past, you know, 3 to 4 years that have gotten me to where I'm at. And I let go of where I should be. And then two funny things, I guess, happened. I've got a 3-year-old daughter. So I watched Frozen 2 when it came out. And what I got out, let it go. So what I got out of, so Frozen 1 is let it go. And Frozen 2 is the message, like I think I love it more than my daughter. But the message about that is you've got this strong inner voice. And it's really strong. Now in the movie, it's external to her. It's music that she hears. And what I made that mean for myself was that you've got this really strong inner voice, and it sits for me in my gut. Like I'm a type of person that has like a body equation to, you know, mind, heart and soul. So my soul, my gut instinct really hasn't let me down. Like it's my thing, but my mind will do all sorts of stuff, you know, like, and the noise that I can allow up here. And then my heart can do all sorts of other stuff, you know, like, and I don't think any of them should be ignored. I think they should be aligned. So what I gave myself permission to do was allow my gut, my soul, my voice, my music, my whatever that I see sits, you know, right down in my foundations. I gave that permission to lead. This was before COVID. So in January of this year, I gave that permission to lead. And then I said, and then I kept checking in with the other two as well. So if I can feel myself getting out of alignment, I'll go, you know, I'm getting all like, I'm not a very emotional person, but I obviously get emotional. And if I feel that, I go, okay, heart, talk to me. What's going on here? Like, and I've started, this is going to sound maybe a little nuts, but I've kind of started talking to each part of myself more just to give myself the clarity, because, and then if I can't work it out for myself, I'll go and find a trusted soul that I work with, you know, like one of my best friends in the world. I've got like 3 best friends, and, you know, they're my go-to, and I'll be like, you know, I'm feeling this. I've asked myself, I can't work it out. What's your take on this situation? But then I just don't take what they say for like being right, you know, like how does that make me feel? So I guess I have more internal dialogue that's healthy versus internal dialogue that's unhealthy. And when this like critic starts going on, I acknowledge it, because I just don't think you can just ignore, because that just plants it further. And you know, I mean, we both know Karen Smith, you know, what persist, resist, you know, all that kind of stuff. Resist, persist. Yeah, the other way around. So I don't ignore it, but I'll validate it, or I'll journal it, you know, what is going on. And then as I journal, I find myself going from head to heart to soul. And normally by the end of the page, or the, you know, depending on how much I'm stuffing myself up in my head, it might be 3 pages, but by the end of it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then the other thing I did was I got really curious about life. So when COVID happened, I implemented this thing in my world where all of a sudden I've gone from having a over the top calendar every day to almost not a lot, or nothing planned, so we had, everything
And
was
being the planner.
And being the planner. So it was all thrown in the air. We had to wipe off our whiteboard and we just had to go, what next? And we had to do what was best for the chambers and the network, and we had to listen to people, and we had to make gut instinct calls on what we thought people wanted, because nobody knew what they wanted. And everyone was in such different situation. So every day I would wake up and go, I'm curious about today. I have, I'm curious, there's plans, there's things in my diary, but I would start a day with even an online event, and then my client or something, or COVID or another case or something would happen and my day would totally change. So I got okay with that. And I'd go, I'm curious. I'm just curious about what will come today. And you know what? You listen, you just do that, and it just all seemed to work. And so then it was like, instead of being 50 steps ahead of myself, which I would normally always be, I took the advice from Frozen, which is just do the next right thing. So if I got overwhelmed, I'd write a list to get it out of my head. Here's my list of everything that I think I need to do, or that's stressing me or worrying me or creating overwhelm or anxiety or whatever, because I'm a list person. I wrote a list. I had to get it out. And then I would go, what's the next right thing?
Yeah.
And then I'd just do that. And then I'd see then I'd say, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? So it's almost like I handed over a bit of control to something, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great, because that then gives you permission to just take one baby step forward.
Yeah.
And not have to be 10 steps ahead all the time.
And I've read, Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, years ago, 10 years ago, I read that, and it resonated with me. And there was the part of me that's an event manager that was like, well, that's great for everyone, except I have to live 6 months in advance. My job is actually to live in advance, when it gets to January.
You have to live now. You have to plan in advance.
Correct. Yeah. Good clarity. Good clarity. So that's it. I was always like, well, that's well and good, and I don't know how to do that. So if there has been a gift from 2020, living in the power of now has actually been a lifesaver. Just being curious about now and just taking the next right step, and really just going, none of us have any control over this.
No, we don't.
And seeing that was powerful versus versus not sabotage, whatever the opposite of powerful is, seeing that as being something that's
powerless.
Powerless, we either have a situation that we're powerless in, or we're powerful. And I just chose that I was going to be powerful in the uncertainty.
And so I guess my last question for you is, if there was one thing that, if somebody gave you this advice 3 years ago, what would be that advice that you would like to share now?
One thing. I think it's get out of your own way. Really, I have a inner vision that is so big for who I am. And even bigger than where my life is now, it's big. And I have gotten in my own way so many times towards creating the how I'm going to do it. So my why is super clear. I am here to connect people, myself, connection. That's my word. I love doing it. Everything about me is connecting people. If you ring me and say, I need this to make myself successful, I'm going to find that for you. I just want to connect. I want people to live their full potential. So my why and my vision has always been clear. And then I allow myself to get in my own way around how that's meant to unfold. And I judge that for myself. So I don't judge other people. Judgment is something of other people that is not something that I'm a fan of. But myself, I allow it to happen. So I won't judge other people. I accept them for the path they're on and the life they have and the choices they make, even if they're very different to my own. I just it's not my business. Like my business is, I thought myself, but actually my business is just getting out of my own way. And so this year when I've done that, when I've just let go of that judgment of myself, criticism of myself, needing to be right, and just got really curious about what could possibly happen.
And I guess even also with what you just said as well,
Yeah.
I guess also with needing to know the why.
And needing,
Not the why, the how, rather.
The how.
Needing to know the how, like just letting the how take care of itself.
Yeah. And it really has. In 2020, you know, that client phoned and said, I want to, you know, use you guys for the next 6 months to connect online. Here's that contract. You know, contracts have come from places if I sat down and went, this is who I'm going to target for new business, they're not on that list. You know, they're over here. You know, I got offered to do the Lightning Lounge, which, you know, it's just a passion thing of mine. You know, I love to MC, but I haven't particularly seen myself as a good one, or what am I doing there? What am I doing in that space? So people will say to you, oh, you're really good at that. And I'll be like, oh, well, you know, not really. And actually this is my number one piece of advice, because I learned this off my 3-year-old last week. So somebody gave her a compliment and she just looked them in the eye, and I was there and my mum was there, and it was so powerful. She just looked them in the eye and she went, thank you. And it was just...
Instead of, but...
Yeah, and there was no, oh, these cheap things, or oh, yeah, well, you know, they couldn't find anyone else to MC this, so they got me. You know, all this, the stuff that we all say to bring ourselves down or whatever. Like, how about if we just say thank you in the most humblest, genuine, authentic, real way? And I think when you know yourself, you can do that. Yeah. So that's my goal, is, you know, kind of by, if 2020 is going to give me anything, it's the ability to just say thank you.
Awesome.
From my heart.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I would like to say thank you from my heart to yours. Thank you so much for your time today, Min. It's been amazing.
Thank you, Vicky.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening.